Hi, my name's Jules, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a silver septum that is removable, so you don't need a piercing. I'm going to make two variations. One is going to be very easy, and you basically don't need any tools. The other one will be made out of silver, but there'll be no fire involved, so you don't need a gas bottle. Okay, so first we're going to make the copper septum, which I'm going to use some gold glass seed beads to zhuzh it up and make it a little bit more dramatic. I am using a 22 gauge copper wire. I'm also using a 28 gauge, which I will be using for the beads. And these are the glass beads, which I spoke of. I am using a 22 gauge copper wire. I'm also using a 28 gauge, which I will be using for the beads. And these are the glass beads, which I spoke of. I will be using a pen also to show you guys how to use that one, in case you don't have a mandrel, and just some random tools. Okay, so I am going to cut about 2 inches of the copper wire. That's plenty to work with. Then I'm going to get the pen and find the center of the wire and just bend it around to the top. You can cross it over if you want. It just gives it more of a fuller circle. You can always unwind that. So that's the kind of shape you want. Of course, we're going to make this a little bit smaller unless that's the size you want. Alright. So to fix these two ends so they aren't spiking into you, I get just some little pliers, and what I do is I bend it backwards, just over itself. You can do it quite a few times. What I like to do is once I've bent it once, I then kind of clamp it and just keep bending it back on itself, and it starts to create a spiral effect, which also looks pretty, like that. To me it looks like there's plenty of wire, so I may even just reshape it, just using one, wrap it around, and just cut a little bit off. Don't really need that. Down. Again, same process. Hold on to the tip right at the end and bend it all the way down, and then if you clamp it again just over it, you can start the spiral effect. This is what I do to make it sit nice and snug on the septum. It's also quite, it's not sharp at all, and it doesn't pinch. So I'll show you a little trick to what I do next. Okay, so this is your septum now. Some people just stick it into their nose like that and let those two things kind of grab onto you, which to me, I think is a more comfortable way to do it. So what I do is I twist it, both of them, like that. So it's more of a nice snug grip rather than a pinch. You're just going to have to sort of fiddle with that a bit. It doesn't hurt to keep going back to your mandrel or your pen to kind of just get that shape back into place. If you've made quite a few, or you do make jewelry, you won't really need to do this too much. You can sort of do it by eye. So that's looking a lot like the shape that we want. You will though always need to bend these up because the septum of your nose does have a little bit of a flat piece, and you want that to sit there. Alright, so that's the first step. A lot of people like to put their beads on a tray like this. A piece of felt will do the same job, also a bowl. So I'm going to use a bowl because not everyone has a beading tray. So put them in there. There's a few, you know, shades of gold in there, which will look really cool. And then it's all about, you know, there's no certain amount of wire to get. Just get as much as you want, really. I've got about, you can't really see, but I've got about 30 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it because it's just too difficult to work in there. I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times. I'll come back to that. We just sort of want to anchor the wire there. Sometimes if you also hold the little short bit of wire, that can be a good anchor until you've done a few, then you can let go and everything will be okay. A good rule of thumb though is when getting the wire, the 28 gauge, or you could even go thinner, more is better because you don't want to run out halfway through it. Okay, so I've got my first bead and I am going to get that anchor way up in that little nook. And you can see this. Got my wire. I'm supporting my bead there and just wrapping the wire once around and bringing that wire back, almost like reefing it back up there to keep it tight. You can do that twice just so it's extra secure. Plus the anchor's a little bit, you know, it's moving a bit. We can fix that though. Okay, so now I roughly have them positioned on there. As you can see, it's a bit messy. But this is how you fix it. Pull that anchor up, and then if you try and align every bead into the same position, as the other one. They will, one, sit closer together, and two, you can push them to get a much snug, neater look. As you can see here, it's starting to look a little bit neater. Now that you've moved them all down a little bit, you can actually fit a few more on because they were spaced out. Okay, so now I've come to the end. I just needed to put one on. It's going to wrap that quite a few times. Also just had to change my tool. I can actually grab a bunch of them and just turn them all in the sort of same position. You can use any, but I find them a lot more easier, and we have a special bond now. Anyway, so back to the beginning, where the anchor was. You can do all types of styles and ways, but I'm going to hold one with some pliers, and then I'm going to grab the little piece, which you can see here, and I can really pull it tight. Fiddly. Sorry, I had to it's a little bit hard with the camera right in between the arms, so I just had to fix it a little bit. It's almost finished. Just snip it, and you can just snip that too. Make sure though you have gone around 3 to 5 times, whatever makes you happy. And when cutting it, as you can see, that's how it's going to sit. If you cut it here, then that's going to spike into your nose. So if you're going, when you cut it on the outside and like flush to the edge. So now we have the basic shape. Little fixing is required, as always, but we're going to go back to our trusty little pen and just wrap it. So here we go. Okay, so here it is in the septum. I think it's pretty cute, nice and gold, subtle as well. It's not too overpowering. It's nice. Just wanted to say that if you were to make one, it would probably take you 3 or 4 minutes. It took me a lot longer because I was doing a tutorial, so don't let the time put you off. And of course, the more you do, the faster you'd get at it. You could also use them as, earrings as well. I thought about that not long ago. Anyway, now I am going to quickly show you the silver one.